We're speaking with the Shadow Minister for Mental Health in Regional Victoria, Emma Keeley. How are you today, Emma?
I'm very well, thank you, and thank you for asking, Ricky.
Yes, look, it is an important question, especially on this day, Thursday the 8th of September, which is RUOK Day. Why is this day an important initiative?
Yeah, it's a great day to raise awareness around mental health and trying to reduce and remove the stigma in the community. And I think in many ways, RUOK Day isn't just about checking in on others that you know who maybe you haven't seen for a little while or, have gone through some difficult times recently. It's also about checking in on yourself, because sometimes it can be really confronting if you're going through a depressive time or you're feeling really anxious and someone asks if you're okay, because you might not be confident in disclosing that, or if people do disclose it, sometimes the questioner doesn't know how to respond either. So I recommend everyone just does a check-in for themselves on RUOK Day. And you know what, if you're not okay, if you're finding things aren't going as well for you as they usually do, that you're finding it difficult to get out of bed in the morning to get motivated or engage with your friends, you're finding excuses not to leave the house, there's lots of different reasons, but just check in with a loved one, check in with your GP, try and find a mental health practitioner and get some support, because if you nip it in the bud early, you can get your life back on track much, much quicker.
It's probably useful to note it is okay to not be okay and to talk about not being okay on a day like today.
Oh, absolutely. That's really what RUOK Day is about, is making sure we do a bit of a check across the community. And if you're not feeling okay, that's absolutely fine. But also know there's something you can do about it. You don't have to live with that situation. You can reach out, get the support, and sort out those, work out some mechanisms to help deal with those situations and to bring you back to a point where you're really enjoying life and getting out and about and living your best life.
Now, as a regional broadcaster, our focus today is also on just what services are available or what initiatives are being pledged. We do have a state election coming up, as I'm sure you're well aware, in November. What is the opposition doing in this area of regional mental health services?
What we hear over and over, Ricky, is that, for people when they do reach out for help, it is so incredibly difficult across Victoria to access those higher level supports. There's a massive shortage of psychologists, psychiatrists, social workers, mental health nurses and counsellors right across the state. And really we had a shortage of workers before COVID, but we know that the lockdowns and restrictions over the past 3 years have really exacerbated people's mental ill health and mental illness, and the wait lists for those services are just growing and growing and growing. And speaking to anyone who works within mental health, we're not seeing an end to the increase in demand at all. So I guess it goes back to our previous message. If you're not feeling okay, it's perfectly fine. And you know what? You're not alone in feeling that way. So today, the Liberals and Nationals are announcing a workforce policy. We're looking to have Australia's biggest workforce drive in mental health that has ever happened. We're going to invest $84 million into training up and attracting that next generation of mental health workers so that Victorians can access the help that they need when they need it.
Yeah, now that initiative, I guess we're in a bit of a crunch at the moment nationally across the labour force when it comes to getting workers. But what is the initiative specifically aiming to do in terms of making workers available, that can do psychological consults?
Yeah, we're really looking at every single corner of the workforce training system to see who's out there who we think we can get into the system as soon as possible, because we know if we kick off now a lot more students to go into uni, it's going to take 6 years before they're out and being a trained psychologist. So the Nationals are really focused to unlock 2 million mental health appointments within the next 2 years. And one of the ways we're going to do that is by supporting more graduates who have a psychology degree to undertake their supervision years and to register as a psychologist. At the moment, we see hundreds of people who attain a psychology degree drop out of the system simply because they can't find a supervisor to be able to take them through those 2 years after they attain their degree so that they can actually register and practice as a psychologist. So this is a really simple solution. It's supported by the Australian Psychological Society, and we are looking at also developing a matching program so that it's much easier for students to match with supervisors. And that means that we'll have more psychologists trained and registered in Victoria, not just the ones that get a degree here in Victoria, but from all around Australia. We're going to be the centre of Australia, really the centre of excellence when it comes to converting people with a psychology degree to be a practicing psychologist and targeting those positions to be in rural and regional Victoria.
Now, you mentioned you've got the support of the APS, the Psychological Society. Is there an adequate pool of potential supervisors there, especially in regional Australia, or would they maybe do that supervision elsewhere and then get deployed out into the regions?
Yeah, what we're looking at training up an additional 750 supervisors. And that will unlock 1,300 psychologists over the next 2 years into practice. It's a massive initiative. It's not a lot of money to do it. It's about $5 million altogether, including the matching program. And it just seems like it's one of those opportunities where it's such a simple thing that all we need to do is create more supervised places, which will create more psychologists. They're already there in the system. They simply can't find a place to be supervised. And part of the program is we can actually allocate those supervised places to places like Mildura or to Horsham through the Bendigo region. We can actually decide where some of those provisional psychologists train and get into practice. So I think it's a fabulous initiative. I'm really surprised the government haven't been looking at these long-term strategies to build our workforce, but I think this is something that gives everybody a bit of a light at the end of the tunnel when it comes to getting that next generation of mental health workers quickly into the system and unlocking 2 million appointments for Victorians who are seeking mental health support.
Well, I'll provide those immediate service opportunities for those that are needing help and in crisis right now. But Shadow Minister for Mental Health for Victoria, Emma Keeley, thanks for joining us today on Flow.
Thanks, Ricky.
And as mentioned, those important services, if you are in distress and needing someone to talk to immediately, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you can telephone Lifeline on 13 11 14 or text them on 0477 13 11 14, also via lifeline.org.au. Online chat available, and Beyond Blue is an important resource also available at 1300 22 46 36 or www.beyondblue.org.au.